بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. النهاردة هنتكلم عن الأوتونوميك نيرفس سيستم. قبل ما نتكلم عن الأوتونوميك نيرفس سيستم لازم نعرف الأول النيرفس سيستم ده بيتكون من ايه. النيرفس سيستم is classified into central nervous system and peripheral nervous system، الجهاز العصبي المركزي والجهاز العصبي الطرفي. السنترال نيرفس سيستم ده بيتكون من البرين والسباينال كورد، بينما البريفرال نيرفس سيستم ده بيتكون من النيرفز اللي هم 3 انواع: الكرينيال نيرفز والسباينال نيرفز والاوتونوميك نيرفز. ادي الصورة عشان تبين لنا السنترال نيرفس سيستم اهوت البرين والسباينال كورد، بينما البريفرال نيرفس سيستم هي النيرفز بأنواعها الثلاثة. السنترال نيرفس سيستم formed from brain and spinal cord. البرين formed from first cerebral cortex and subcortical centers like thalamus, hypothalamus, basal ganglia, and cerebellum, and brain stem that formed from midbrain bones and medulla oblongata. All these centers will be studied later inshallah in the second year. This is the brain and the parts of the brain. This is the picture to see us the parts of the brain stem and also the cerebellum. The second part of the central nervous system is the spinal cord that formed from 31 segments. First, 8 cervical segment, 12 thoracic segment, 5 lumbar segment, 5 sacral segment, and 1 coccygeal segment. This is a picture to seeing us the parts of the spinal cord. The transverse section of spinal cord showed that the spinal cord formed from horns anteriorly and columns exteriorly. The horn, this is formed from anterior horn, lateral horn, and dorsal horn, while the columns that present exteriorly formed from anterior column and lateral column and dorsal column. This is a picture to seeing us the form of the spinal cord. This is the anterior horn, this is the dorsal horn, and this is the lateral horn, while this is the anterior column, lateral column, and the dorsal column. This is another picture to seeing us the transverse section of spinal cord. This is also the anterior horn, the dorsal horn, and the lateral horn here, and this is the anterior column, lateral column, and this is the dorsal column. Now we speak about the peripheral nervous system, or the nerves that formed from cranial nerves, spinal nerves, and autonomic nerves. The cranial nerves formed from 12 pairs of cranial nerves. They arise from brain, so-called cranial nerves, and they connect the brainstem with different parts of the body. The second is the spinal nerves. There are 31 pairs of spinal nerves. They connect the spinal cord with the body, and each spinal nerve connected with the spinal cord by 2 roots. First, the anterior root and the posterior or dorsal root. The anterior root, it is the motor or efferent nerves that arise from the anterior horn of spinal cord, while the posterior root, it is the sensory or the afferent fibers that enter the spinal cord to the dorsal horn. This is picture seeing us the spinal nerve. This is the spinal nerve, and this is the dorsal root, and this is the ventral root. This is also the spinal nerve, and this is the dorsal root, and this is the ventral root. The third type of peripheral nervous system is the autonomic nerves that arise from two parts. Arise and pass through some cranial nerves. Arise from brainstem and pass through some cranial nerves 3, 7, 9, and 10, as well mentioned later. And arise from also the lateral horn cell of the spinal cord from certain segments involving the thoracic, from thoracic 1 to thoracic 12, and from lumbar 1 to lumbar 4, and sacral 2, 3, and 4. Now we give an introduction about the autonomic nervous system. It is a part of the nervous system that regulates the activity of viscera. Viscera like what? Like cardiac muscle, smooth muscle, and the glands and the adrenal medulla, and it is involuntary in function. So we have two types of body function. First, voluntary function and involuntary function. Voluntary function, it is the under control of our will and can carried by the skeletal muscle like moving a limb and controlled by somatic nervous system. While involuntary, it is not under control of our will, means self-controlling, and including the activity of viscera like cardiac muscle, smooth muscle, and secretion of glands. And it's controlled by the autonomic nervous system or the involuntary or visceral nervous system. Also, there is an important point that it is what is the neuron or nerve cell. It is the structural unit of the nervous system. هي الوحدة البنائية في الجهاز العصبي، هي الخلية العصبية or the neuron or nerve cell that is formed from dendrites and cell body or soma that have a gray color and the axons that have a white color. This is the soma or cell body here, while the axons, it is collection of axons outside the central nervous system will form the nerves, while collection of the axons inside the central nervous system will form the tracts, either ascending or descending tracts. Now we speak about the reflex action and reflex arm. Reflex action. What is the reflex action? It is response to peripheral nervous stimulation, and it is considered the functional unit of the nervous system. There are three types of reflex action, including local axon reflex, unconditioned reflexes, and conditioned reflexes. The local axon reflex, it is a primitive reflex, رد فعل أولي بدائي consists of receptor afferent and efferents. The efferent is a branch of the afferent. So this reflex, it is primitive because it has no center, and it occurs as follows. The impulse originates from the skin receptors, for example, and then pass antidromically. Pass antidromically means in the opposite direction to the afferent, and this is occur via short collateral or short branch of the afferent fiber to reach to the effector organ like the blood vessels or viscous without reaching the central nervous system. The second type of the reflex action or reflexes is the unconditioned reflex means the رد الفعل الغير شرطي إنه لا يشترط فيه integrity or نضج cerebral cortex. They are inborn reflexes means that they are present at birth and they need no learning or training and don't require integrity of cerebral cortex, so-called unconditioned. And their centers were present in various levels in the spinal cord and the brainstem. For example, the introduction of the food into the mouth lead to reflex secretion of saliva. The second type of reflexes is the conditioned reflexes or رد الفعل الشرطي because it require or need integrity of cerebral cortex, so it is called conditioned reflex. What is the character of conditioned reflexes? They are acquired reflexes or developed after birth مكتسبة ردود أفعال مكتسبة need previous learning or training and require integrity of cerebral cortex and their centers were present in the cerebral cortex like vision, hearing or smelling of food lead to reflex secretion of saliva. So the difference between the unconditioned and conditioned reflexes including the following. First, the nature. The unconditioned, they are inborn reflexes means they are present at birth, while conditioned reflexes, they are acquired reflexes means they developed after birth. The previous training, unconditioned reflexes need no previous learning or training, while the conditioned reflexes need previous learning or training. The integrity of cerebral cortex, the unconditioned reflexes don't require integrity of cerebral cortex, while the conditioned required the integrity of cerebral cortex. What about the center? The unconditioned reflexes have their centers at various levels of spinal cord and brainstem, while the conditioned reflexes, their centers present at the cerebral cortex. Example for each of these reflexes. The unconditioned reflex, example for it, introduction of the food in the mouth lead to reflex secretion of saliva, while the conditioned reflexes, just vision or smelling or hearing of the food lead to reflex secretion of saliva. Now what is the reflex arc? قوس الانعكاس means what? It is the anatomical nervous pathway for the reflex action. It is the pathway. Arc means here pathway. What is the component of reflex arc including receptor, afferent, center, efferent and effector organs? So here this is receptor, afferent, center, efferent and effector organ. 5 components. What is the type of reflex arc? Including only 2 types, either somatic or voluntary reflex arc or involuntary or autonomic reflex arc. What is about the 5 components of the somatic reflex arc? First, the receptors. Receptor of the somatic reflex arc present at the somatic structure like skin and or skeletal muscle, while the afferent of this somatic reflex arc enter the central nervous system via the dorsal root of spinal nerves and have their cell bodies at the dorsal root ganglia. The center of the somatic reflex arc present at the anterior horn cell of spinal cord. The efferent of the somatic reflex arc leave the central nervous system via the ventral root of spinal nerve as a one neuron. And the effector organ for the somatic reflex arc is include skin or skeletal muscle somatic structure. While the autonomic reflex arc, first, its receptor present in the viscera. Second, the afferent for the autonomic reflex arc resemble the somatic reflex arc. What about the center of the autonomic reflex arc present at the lateral horn cell of the spinal cord? And what is about the efferent of the autonomic reflex arc? They leave the spinal cord as a preganglionic fiber to relay at the autonomic ganglia outside the central nervous system. Then from the ganglia it is give the postganglionic fiber. The preganglionic fiber has a called white remus because it myelinated, covered by a myelin sheath that has a white color, while the postganglionic fiber called gray remus because it is unmyelinated, so has a gray color. The effector organ here it includes the viscera or the glands. So here is the somatic and the autonomic reflex arc. This is the somatic. This is the receptor present in the skin, and the afferent enters through the dorsal root of the spinal nerve, and the center it is the anterior horn cell. Then the efferent pass through the ventral root of the spinal nerve as one neuron to reach to the somatic structure like skeletal muscle. Here the autonomic reflex arc, it's a receptor present in the viscera, and its afferent enter through the dorsal root of the spinal nerve, terminate at the center lateral horn cell, then pass through the ventral root to terminate at the autonomic ganglia. From it pass the postganglionic fiber, and this is the effector organ. So the difference between somatic and autonomic reflex arcs: first, receptor of the somatic reflex arc present in skin and skeletal muscle, while the autonomic its receptor present in the viscera. The afferent for the somatic reflex arc it enters through the dorsal root of spinal nerves, and the autonomic reflex arc resembles its afferent. Resembles the afferent of the somatic reflex arc. It is important to know that the center of the somatic reflex arc it is the anterior horn cell, while the lateral horn cell it is the center for the autonomic reflex arc. The efferent of the somatic reflex arc leaves the central nervous system via ventral root of spinal nerves as one neuron, while they leave the spinal cord as a preganglionic fiber and relay in the autonomic ganglia and give rise to postganglionic fiber. This is the efferent for the autonomic reflex arc. The effector organ for the somatic reflex arc it includes skin and skeletal muscle somatic structure, while the autonomic reflex arc involving viscera or glands. Thank you.